I've seen a lot of conversations popping up online about a next generation Xbox happening in 2026. At first, I thought this would be absolutely crazy and didn't make any sense, but I started diving into it. And while I know this was talked about a few weeks ago by most people, I went through all the sources and all the comments to bring you answers to the questions you might have about this console in one handy little video. Let's get into it all right now. So the first question you might have is, where is this rumor coming from? Well, this rumor is coming from Jeff Grubb's Game Mess. It's been discussed by Red Gaming Tech on YouTube and Kepler L2 on Twitter. Now, Kepler has tweeted many times about how this rumor about Xbox releasing a mid-generation refresh has been scrapped, and how instead they're going to be releasing a 2026 next-gen console to beat the PlayStation 5. Here's what Jeff Grubb had to say about the rumors. He said, "The idea is to shake things up and get away from launching next to the PlayStation 6, Grubb says. These are details I can mostly confirm. Having the point-to-point comparison," he's talking about with PlayStation 5, "does seem like it's holding back one of these systems, specifically Xbox." That's via Jeff Grubb's Game Mess. Now, that actually makes a lot of sense when everybody's just putting the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 next to each other. Xbox will sometimes not shine the brightest, but if Xbox comes along and releases their next-gen console in 2026 instead of waiting until 2028, like the FTC documents alluded to, that would actually give them a leg up over on PlayStation. PlayStation could be releasing their rumored PlayStation 5 Pro at that time for a slightly higher price point, and Xbox would just be like, nope, here's our next-gen console right now. You can get it today. The next question I would have to imagine is that you're going to wonder what happened with the FTC document. Well, all of these people are saying that the FTC leak is scrapped. Let's take a look at what they said back on those original documents. So if you go look at them, and I brought them up here, this is the Brooklyn. This was the rumored thing that they were going to release. Brooklyn will deliver 4K Gen 9 console gaming with more internal storage, faster Wi-Fi, reduced power, and more immersive controller, and a beautiful design that elevates an all-digital experience. And I believe it was on page 7 where they alluded to somewhere in between financial year 2028 and 2029 as the release target. However, there was another document within that same FTC release / leak where they improperly redacted everything, where they discussed something that might give us an idea where they're going with this thing. And this is where Red Gaming Tech comes in. They talked about Zen 6 or RDNA 6, and that's where Red Tech sort of jumped off and started discussing what could potentially be happening there. He talked about DLSS 3.0, and how AI upscaling is being utilized much, much more, with RDNA 5 likely targeting 2025 and RDNA 6 likely targeting 2026/2027. So he mentioned, in addition to all of that, a quote from Phil Spencer back in 2016 that alluded to the idea of incrementally upgrading since the Xbox One era. Now, I do think that is a little out of date, but here's what was said. He mentioned the 2016 comment, and the full quote is referenced below. In follow-up comments to various outlets, Spencer noted that devices like PCs and smartphones operate on a very continuous evolution cycle, whereas consoles make players wait 7 or 8 years before beefing up their hardware. Now, that was his philosophy back in, I want to say that was from 2016. And I do think that idea is a little outdated because of where technology is today. With technology, it's incredibly easy to just hit that subscribe button, hit that bell if you're not subscribed to a YouTube channel, for example, or hit that like button to help get the videos shared more by the YouTube algorithm. So thank you to everybody who does that. But in all seriousness, though, cloud, sorry, I have to laugh at my own jokes sometimes. Cloud technology, the way things are going with mobile phones, I do think that this would be a smart strategy to have this 2026 update after the Xbox Series X because the X and S could still be supported via cloud technology should something come up that is so powerful that it can't be backwards ported. And a lot of people have discussed how this could potentially be a less powerful console than the PlayStation 6, but it'll still be markedly more powerful than the Xbox Series X, and it will be more powerful than likely the PlayStation 5 Pro. And if Xbox markets it correctly, then they can get ahead of that head-to-head comparison that we often see. Let's take a look back at some of the other things noted in the original documentation from the FTC to see if we can glean any more info. So from 0 Microsoft to 1 Microsoft, next gen in 2028 was the original target. It's believed that that has been adjusted to 2026. And in page 2, they also talk about resolution and frame rate. And this reminded me of the Phil Spencer interview during Gamescom, where he talked a little bit about the technology and why a mid-gen refresh isn't necessarily needed. In the Bloomberg article from earlier in that year, it was titled "Microsoft Gaming Chief doesn't see a need for a new Xbox yet. That's not the feedback we're getting right now. Right now, we're pretty set on the hardware we have." So that was from, I believe, last year. But anyway, it's from Bloomberg. And he's talking about how they don't need a mid-generation refresh. And he told IGN, I actually conducted this interview for IGN. He said, "We're at the end of the beginning in my mind. It's not always just about pixel count or frame resolution. I think there's lighting techniques. There's a bunch of things that go into what makes a game look and feel great that we have a ton of headroom as an industry, and we have a ton of headroom as an industry there." Now, when you look back to the FTC documentation to look at how likely these rumors are, they literally mention resolution and frame rate on this particular slide. This is PX 1022 in one of the documents that were linked to. PX 2022 refers to the file name. So they talked about the opportunities and the challenges, one of which being resolution and frame rate. So I found it interesting that Phil Spencer was mentioning resolution and frame rate and how as an industry, that's becoming less and less important. Destiny 2 is one of the most played games ever, and it was made several years ago and it's been improved upon, right? I think we've hit this point where graphics matter to a point, and sure, some games will continue to push that, but gameplay will always be king. And that's why I have a strong belief that mobile phones will continue to dominate. And here's the slide specifically that Red mentioned, where they talk about targeting Zen 6 hardware, which Red seems to think aligns with the 2026-2027 release window, with RDNA 5 likely coming in 2025 and RDNA 6 coming in 2026-2027. Now remember, Phil Spencer said that basically this is all changed and, they adjust as needed. One of the other videos that I saw about this particular topic was from Xbox Ready, who said they think that Xbox looked at the Xbox Series S and how well it sold as proof that people don't need the most powerful console. And that's absolutely true. A lot of people look at the Xbox Series S and they're like, oh, it's holding back the Xbox Series X. But at the end of the day, no matter what happened with the Xbox Series S and whether or not it held back gaming, a lot of people bought that console. They bought more Xbox Series S units than Xbox Series X. And maybe Microsoft took a look at that, and this is what Xbox Ready is alluding to, and they said, you know what? Maybe we stop going toe-to-toe with PlayStation. Look at what Nintendo did. Got to remember to pull my jacket down when I sit in the chair. Look at what Nintendo did. Nintendo released this unit that's just creaming everybody else, and PlayStation and Xbox are nowhere near the lifetime sales of the Switch. So maybe Microsoft, as they have said for many years, are less worried about the console game and more worried about the services and how they deliver content to their audience, as opposed to going toe-to-toe with anyone. Because if they're releasing in 2026, they're more likely to go toe-to-toe with the Switch 2 versus the PlayStation 6. And that kind of puts them in a really, really good spot in terms of strategy. One last question I wanted to sort of discuss was the two console strategy. And I think the Xbox Series S has now replaced the Project Keystone. The Xbox Series S is all digital. You can obviously use cloud streaming. to play any of the games there. You can still install the games locally. It kind of does a lot of what people had hoped Project Keystone would do, and it does it in a nice little package. They also released the upgraded Xbox Series S recently. It's black and it has a little bit more storage for a very reasonable price point. So when you start looking at it all, that's what everybody has been talking about from these documents, from the FTC, from everybody, and where we're at today, right? And if we look back at that rumored console, the Brooklyn, the Xbox Series X refresh targeting 2028, they're talking about an all-digital console, faster Wi-Fi, and really what they're talking about is getting people into the ecosystem versus making sure that they have the best hardware on the market. These ideas, according to the new updates, have been scrapped, and I do think the strategy of releasing a new Xbox in 2026 is very, very smart. Now, take this all with a grain of salt because it is from leaks, but when you have leaks from one person and then Jeff Grubb corroborating it and Red Gaming Tech also looking at the facets of the conversation about RDNA and where that technology is at and how you can start utilizing things like DLSS 3.0 and AI upscaling and Microsoft's heavy investment in AI. This is a rumor that I would give more credence than I normally do. So let me know what you think about it in the comments below. I think it seems pretty solid. I think we don't need a 2-console cycle anymore because the Xbox Series S would be that answer. If you, hey, I just want to stream all my games. Well, you can buy a Samsung television or you can go get the Xbox Series S and be able to play all the new games. And as much as people don't like to think about that, I think that is where the consoles are going, especially when everybody's scrambling to figure out mobile and how they can capitalize on mobile. Mobile is not Candy Crush anymore. We're at the first generation of iPhones that can run games like Resident Evil 4. And while there are overheating issues, imagine the next generation of iPhone and Android and going into the future. It's only going to get easier to make very beautiful looking games because the technology has caught up with the requirements to make those products. That's my 2 cents on it. Let me know what you think. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell if you haven't yet. Really appreciate it. Hit that like button if you like this video. And I do appreciate all you. I also appreciate the members. Probably have to update this. Click that join button if you want to become a member. That's just an easy way to support the channel. I repost these videos without any ads. So you support, you get a video without ads. I do appreciate if you do it. I know you can do YouTube Red, but I mean, it's what I have time to do right now. Having 2 jobs. Support if you want, don't if you don't. Videos there for free. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thank you to the members who do support this channel and allowing me to make content like this. I greatly appreciate all of you. I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now.